The WNBA draft ratings are officially in, and boy, oh boy, do we have some things to talk about.
Let's talk about the elephant in the locker room. You know who we're talking about. Geno Auriemma, the UConn legend, the king of passive-aggressive interviews, and apparently the unofficial president of the anybody but Caitlin Clark is his crown jewel. Paige Bueckers just had her WNBA draft moment. But instead of the media fireworks we witnessed when Caitlin Clark went #1 overall last year, what did we get this time? A muted reception and, frankly, a big old reality check.
For the last few months, the mainstream media, they have tried to convince us that Paige Bueckers is a draw. Me personally, I think she's a star, but I'm not exactly convinced that she is a draw.
Let's not sugarcoat this, Paige. Bueckers' draft viewership didn't just underwhelm. It flopped compared to Clark's. A respectable 1.3 million people tuned in for Buecker, but when Caitlin Clark declared for the draft last year, a staggering 2.6 million showed up. That's double the eyeballs, double the buzz, and if you think this is just coincidence, you haven't been paying attention.
You'll find a lot of stars, but there's only a handful of draws. There's only a handful of people over the past 40 or 50 years who have the impact, the drawing power to elevate the product into the mainstream.
The media has been doing gymnastics to crown Buecker as the next face of women's basketball. ESPN has been running highlight reels, dropping feature interviews, and even splicing in that iconic Geno Auriemma smirk in post-game pressers, just to keep the narrative alive. But here's the thing, no amount of Connecticut mystique or coach speak can cover up what the numbers clearly show. Clark is the draw, full stop.
Whether or not Paige Bueckers is a star or a draw, that remains to be seen. Judging by the ratings for the Dump Diver draft the other night, Paige Bueckers is not a mainstream draw yet. WNBA drew 1.3 million viewers the other night for the draft on ESPN. Now, that number, it can be credited 100% to Paige Bueckers because every other player involved was completely unknown.
This isn't about Paige lacking talent. She's got game. Nobody's disputing that. But star power, that magnetic pull that packs arenas and hijacks sports talk radio, that's Caitlin Clark's domain. And what we just witnessed with these draft numbers is the basketball audience voting with their eyeballs, and they weren't interested in the Geno-led hype machine. Let's be honest, Geno Auriemma's got a legacy. The man's won more championships than most franchises, but somewhere along the line, his critiques stopped sounding like expert analysis and started sounding a lot more like jealous uncle energy.
Although 1.3 million is a great number for the WNBA, it is significantly below what Caitlin Clark drew last year. Matter of fact, it's 50% lower than what Caitlin Clark drew last year.
You know, the type that shows up at Thanksgiving dinner with passive-aggressive jabs like, "That's nice, but back in my day?" Geno's been doing that to Caitlin Clark for 2 seasons now.
You're a great college player, like Caitlin was. The delusional fan base that follows her disrespected the WNBA players by saying she's going to go in that league and tear it apart. There were actually odds on she's 3rd or 4th in betting odds on being MVP of the WNBA. These people are so disrespectful and so unknowledgeable and so stupid that it gives women's basketball a bad name. Okay, so the kid was set up for failure right from the beginning.
He's been downplaying her numbers, minimizing her impact, and constantly reminding everyone that her fans are delusional. Meanwhile, his star pupil just got overshadowed by someone who, spoiler alert, didn't need to wear a UConn jersey to become a national icon. The UConn PR machine may still be running, but the wheels are starting to come off. During the draft broadcast, the vibe was off, interviews fell flat, names were mispronounced, and energy was low. It was like everyone in the room knew they were standing in the shadow of last year's main.
I'm here with Anissa and Rakia, and we are holding it down right now. Oh, sorry. Go ahead. My bad.
It's okay.
Sorry. What?
Go ahead, say your name.
Cheyenne Zellers. I'm so sorry. That is embarrassing. Cheyenne, I apologize, by the way. That's so embarrassing.
Longtime broadcaster Tim Wilson didn't hold back, saying off-air that the difference between this year's draft and the last one was night and day, and he's right. One had a star that made history. The other had a star the league is trying to manufacture.
2025 second most viewed WNBA draft of all time with an average of 1.25 million viewers with a peak of 1.46 million viewers, up 119% versus 2023. And I know what the question may be, 2023. Well, Ben, just out of curiosity, because we're all curious around here, right? We all want to be well informed. What is it compared to the 2024 draft?
So let's zoom out. Why do ratings matter this much? Because in professional sports, ratings aren't just numbers, they're dollar signs. They determine ad spend, sponsor deals, TV contracts, everything. A 49% viewership drop is not a stat you shrug off. That's a marketing crisis. That's a boardroom panic. That's somebody at ESPN getting a very tense Zoom call with their boss.
It's down 49%. 49% of the audience said, yeah, I'll go watch paint dry instead. In fact, some people, Jason Whitlock, he didn't even realize the WNBA draft took place the other night. He found that out the next morning, that Paige Bueckers and the WNBA draft had actually taken place. Last year, 2.45 million, peaked with 3.09 million, up 307% from the previous high back in 2004.
Here's where things get especially awkward. ESPN and the WNBA spent months building Paige up like she was going to carry the torch into a new era. They tried to replicate the Clark playbook feature stories. Breathless coverage teases of a generational moment, but the public didn't bite. And why should they? When you've got the original still lighting it up nightly, why would you settle for the knockoff?
601,000 from 2004. So 2024 was up 307% from 2004. 1.06 million women viewers was the 2024 draft. Now here we go, folks. This is when we get into the nooks, into the crannies, and into the fun.
And let's not forget social media. Twitter was on fire the moment those numbers dropped. No Caitlyn, no ratings. One viral post read, another said they tried to replace the sun with a flashlight, brutal but accurate. The public isn't confused. They've made their choice. Caitlin Clark isn't just part of women's basketball. She is women's basketball right now.
Why was last year's draft such a big deal? Well, Caitlin Clark was getting drafted. Reason number one, Caitlin Clark getting drafted. Reason number two, why it was such a big deal. Well, Caitlin Clark was going number one overall. And the third reason why, calling a spade here, these three women, Angel Reese, Caitlin Clark, Cameron Brand. Perfect storm. A perfect storm, a perfect bill of goods.
And that's exactly what's driving people like Geno Auriemma crazy. It must sting, right? To spend decades building the most iconic brand in women's college hoops only to watch a player from Iowa steal the thunder? Clark did what no one outside of UConn has done in years. She made women's basketball must-watch TV. She turned regular season games into headline news. She made college gyms feel like NBA arenas, and she did it without Geno's help. In fact, she did it despite the constant side eyes from people like him.
Didn't you tell us that in 2004 it was 601,000? My point exactly. They still haven't rebounded from the days of 2004. They still haven't managed to maintain that same audience from 2004. Until Caitlin Clark showed up. Until Caitlin Clark arrived on the scene, and then they're going to boast about a measly 1.25 million. You guys want to know what's funny about 1.25 million? 1.25 million is closer to the 601,000 in 2004 than it is to the 2.45 million in 2025. We're already closer to 2004 numbers than we were to 2025 numbers.
This whole saga reveals the real problem. The WNBA and its media partners are still clinging to old formulas. They think they can build a superstar by committee, push the next face of a league button, and fans will just follow. But you can't fake charisma, and you can't fake gravity, and Caitlin Clark's got both in spades.
1 million people disappeared. 1.2 million people, to be fair, disappeared. We can spin that as many ways as we want. The trend is already coming back down. The trend is already coming back down. Juju Watkins next year draft, 1.09 million. Oh, another 1 million view draft. But we went from 2.4 to 1.2 to now 1.09. Who's after Juju? My point exactly. We're already forecasting a 2027 draft of 650,000.
Paige Bueckers might be part of the future of the league. She might win titles, earn all-star nods, and have a fantastic pro career. But as far as this draft told us, she's not the one leading the way because that lady wears number 22 in Indiana. Meanwhile, Geno can keep holding press conferences filled with condescending jabs and veiled criticisms. But while he's reminiscing about the old days, Caitlin Clark is defining the new ones.
Unlike Caitlin Clark, Paige Bueckers has been embraced with open and hairy arms into the WNBA. Players have embraced her potentially in ways that we don't even know about. More importantly, the mainstream media has embraced her. And I'm starting to wonder if this media-created rivalry that is building between Paige Bueckers and Caitlin Clark will completely overshadow Angel Reese.
When you put Paige Bueckers and Caitlin Clark side by side, there's a glaring question the media conveniently avoids. What holds more weight, lifting a trophy once or completely rewriting the NCAA record books like you're the editor-in-chief? The mainstream narrative has leaned hard into Bueckers' championship win, practically framing it as the ultimate badge of greatness. But in doing so, they've dimmed the spotlight on Clark's statistical annihilation of long-standing records. Caitlin didn't just beat some old benchmarks. She left them in the dust, doing things that no man or woman has ever pulled off in college basketball.